let's walk us through how open strategy works. I mean, you got the first. So I'll show the book again. There we are, Open Strategy. So the first couple of chapters really look at how you can begin to think about disruption. Well, I guess you start off the book by talking about traditional strategy and how that is less fit for purpose in more and more dynamic environments. So maybe start there.
Yeah. So that's true. And one thing that is really important as well for us is that the implementation side is more integrated into the whole strategy making process if you involve a larger group of people. That's important because the majority of strategies fail, not necessarily because the ideas are wrong, but it sort of doesn't work. Yeah, it could be that when it hits operational front end, people don't understand what it's like. They don't really, see how it fits what they already do. And particularly when sort of there's substantial shifts in an organization, that can be really tricky. We have this story, which we opened with from Barclays, and I think that highlights that to some extent. This was in 2012, and it was in the retail arm of Barclays in the UK. Now, Barclays is a 300-year-old bank. So lots of tradition, kind of classic bank really does that well. But in 2012, it also started to be clear that the world of banking is going to be more digital and that this will have huge implications. Now, you can go in various ways to pursue or confront this digitalization. And the classic model would be the one that you described in the very beginning, where this very small group of executives go. I'm from Austria, so the mountaintop is something I can certainly relate to. But some way, reclusive, a small group of very senior executives, maybe with the help of a big consulting company, tackle the issue. But then you have the problem, particularly when it comes to something like a substantial shift into digitalization. How do you bring everyone along? The first thing, if I work in a bank like Barclays and I work behind the counter and I hear digitalization, I'm going to think, what about my job? This is going to go away, and I will find ways to somehow, maybe push back, slow it down. I will certainly not be the first and biggest champion of digitalization. Mm-hmm. And Ashok Vaswani, who was in charge of the bank at the time, I think he knows that really well. The way he put it in a conversation I had with him is that strategy is, in essence, really trying to answer three very simple questions. Where are we at the moment? Where do we want to go? And how we get there? And, it's a simple but really smart way to look at it. The way he puts it then is that everyone in the organization has answers to these questions. And why not use them? It's an obvious and smart thing to do, and in particular, when it comes to something like digitalization. So how did they do that? Yeah, because one thing is, it might be a good idea, but how do you really involve 30,000 people? In an early phase, which already, I guess, was larger than usual, where they had different work groups, some of them staffed primarily with young people who were less tainted by the way things have been done in Barclays in the past and sort of fresh ideas. These work groups set out big trajectories. But then in the second stage, they rented out cinemas throughout the United Kingdom and brought really hundreds of people together in these cinema halls, well, thousands actually. And they set up a strategy jam. So that's, you can think about it a little bit like an online conference where people participated in work streams. The work streams were organized along those big trajectories that the work groups had identified. And they kind of, they got into the nitty-gritty stuff of how digitalization will affect them personally, what they can do, how they can adjust things. I liked a lot this story they were sharing with me, where in the mortgage department, somebody noted that Domino's Pizza, that's a big pizza delivery chain, was able to tell you, well, you order your pizza now, we put the ingredients on the pizza goes in the oven, pizza comes out of the oven, pizza is on the way to you. And in the mortgage department, that person noted then in this jam, we cannot tell any of these things to our customers. We can tell them, hey, mortgage application received. And in the end, we tell them either you get a mortgage under whatever conditions or you don't get a mortgage. But in between, no communication with your customers. And it's just sort of, not in sync with the expectations of customers. If we can get more details about a pizza, really, it's just not right.
I love that example. I absolutely love that.
It's a nice one, isn't it? So, with this engagement, things got real. And I talked to quite a lot of people in the bank. They were all saying that the vibrance, the sort of engagement they had, it was unmatched. They've never had it before. They never had it after, to that extent. And it set up, a flurry of different activities. They set up, some employees set up a group of digital eagles, they call it. Yeah? So those who were more digital savvy started to help those who struggled with this type of stuff. I guess the sort of most measurable thing is they set up their first mobile app about, quite shortly after the jam, and almost overnight got 1 million users. Today, 9 million users, and that makes it one of the most successful fintech products in the United Kingdom. That's pretty impressive, for a 300-year-old, slow-moving retail bank. And I don't think, this would have been possible if we would have taken this more classic top-down approach. Not so many brains would have moved along with the process. That I think captures really nicely when open strategy is really suitable in which sort of situation, and how it helps a company to do something that you could do in a different way, but I think much less successful.